Good evening, everyone. Chris Schultz here, along with Gary Hoff. We are back at the Nash Icon Studios in Monroe, Michigan. And I guess this is our week one wrap-up video. So we're going to talk a little bit about the games and some of the scores. We're not going to get too in-depth, but we are going to discuss the games. It was an exciting week of football.
It was. Week one always is.
Yeah, sure. We got out and saw a bunch of games, but why don't we just jump right into the games? But I would like to. We just brought on a brand new sponsor, Monroe Sports, Varsity Athletic here in Monroe. I'd like to thank them for coming on board. Randy Wyndham and his wife, they do a great job over there. They do a lot of shirts for the schools. They did the Friday Night Victors as well. So
right. They're flying off the shelves, by the way.
Oh, good. Yeah. Good to hear. So let's dive into some scores. I'm going to just throw them out at you, Gary. Dundee 21, Ann Arbor Huron 16. Thoughts on that?
Well, that's kind of how we thought maybe it would go. A close game. Dundee did what they had to do. 1-0 is a heck of a lot better than 0-1, and I know Coach McElvain was excited to get that win. Yep. I know he's got a lot of work to do. But when I talked to him a little bit, but yeah, 1-0.
Big goal line stand at the end of the game preserves the win for them. I had taken Ann Arbor Huron in that game.
Not me.
Yep. So there you
Vikings.
go. Gary was up 1. Yeah. Flat Rock 15. Garden City 0.
Yeah.
Rams pitched the shutout.
Yeah, they pitched the shutout. That was another game that was, kind of maybe in the balance. Garden City typically has some real good athletes. But we said last week we just thought Flat Rock would be a better coached team, and the defense is I think it's going to be outstanding again. Yep. That's where they're going to hang their hat, are the Rams on their defense. So yeah, great win again, 1-0.
All right, let's dive over to up in mid-Michigan. Bridgeport hosted Milan. That score was 34-28. Yeah. The Big Reds, that game was 34-6-ish at one time, and then Bridgeport came storming back, and I don't know if the score is indicative of the game. We weren't there, but thoughts?
It was talked about a lot on the blog the last few days, and so I watched the game on video. I watched the entire game. Yeah, Milan jumped out to a nice lead, played great on both sides of the football. The two-headed monster in Oshbacher and Hines, and the quarterback Jones. You might as well call it a three-headed monster in week one anyway. All played well. When you're a small school, necessarily, Milan isn't a real small school, but they don't have a ton of players. They don't got a 50-man roster. So as a coach, you got to kind of, how long do I play my starters? The score's 34-6.
Right.
And he pulled the starters out, and Bridgeport didn't. They had the ones in Bridgeport, and they took it to Milan's twos pretty hard, and got back in the game in the third and fourth quarter. Really.
But to the credits of the Big Reds, they won the game, and that's what matters.
Yep.
Let's go to Summerfield 41 and Erie Mason 34.
Yeah, that was a shootout.
Sounds like it was a shootout.
It was a back and forth game, trading scores. Not a lot of defense in that game, but I think Mason prefers to play that way. They want to get the game in a shootout, and
it's fun.
Noah Booty, the quarterback, had a huge game. He accounted for all 5 touchdowns, threw for 300 plus yards. Ran for 100-plus yards, so he had a big game.
But Summerfield did have 4 interceptions in the game, and maybe that was the difference.
Was it 3 or 4?
I believe it was 4. I don't,
We'll call 3.5 interceptions.
That's fine.
Jake Traynor also had a great game for Mason, 200-plus yards receiving. And Summerfield doing what they do, perennial playoff team, and they're off and running.
Right. Let's see. Redford Thurston 20, Huron 3. Thurston had too much speed for the Chiefs in that game. Huron had a hard time getting the offense going. They were running the spread a little bit with their sophomore quarterback, but when they had their biggest drive of the game, they went T and ran the ball down the field. And then, it sounds like Thurston was just the better team. One of the things, when I saw them scrimmage, they only had 19 kids dressed. They had a lot more than that dressed the other night. They had a lot of speed out there. Their quarterback was very good.
Yeah. We mentioned in the preview of this game that Huron is a little bit behind pace, and that they'll improve as the year goes on, and I think this is indicative of that.
Yeah, I think that's a good example. Ida, 43, Jefferson 7. I picked the Bears. Ida just defies us. Yeah. They really do.
I'm not picking them to lose until they do. They may never lose.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to either. And I don't. Jeff Grodi, your partner on the SMCC broadcast, was at that game on Friday, and he's a Jefferson graduate.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't a close game.
Coach Potter just is getting the job done. That's as simple as that.
They've got some really good players over there. Clay Sampson is one of them. Let's see. Let's dive into Whiteford 48, Blissfield 6. They opened a can.
You
On the
differed
Royals.
from me on that. I thought it would be a good game. You thought Whiteford would win. I don't think you thought it would be that score.
Well, I didn't pick that on the blog. I
Yeah.
picked it maybe a couple touchdowns, but
I think that score could have been 100-0 if they wanted it to be.
100-0, right?
Yeah, could have been 100-0.
So I don't know what else to say about that game. Next game, Sterling Heights Stevenson 33, Bedford 21. We both called that game that way. Sterling Heights Stevenson, 2-7 last year, but I think they were better than their record. Bedford isn't quite as good as they've been, I don't think. But
it's hard to tell right now. They're going to be good.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right. I think that's not a bad loss, especially going up there.
Not a bad loss. Sterling Heights has 2,600 students, so big
Yeah, they're a big
school,
school,
playing
yeah.
a tough league, and on the road, Bedford, they lost it, but they competed.
Yeah, I agree. Next game was Woodhaven 49, Carlson 35. This surprised us a little bit. I mean, we know Woodhaven's good, but we're Jack Jarmo fans, and for them to give up 49 points, I think, not all of those were on offense, but you're not going to win a lot of games giving up 49 points.
Yeah, you probably aren't going to win any. So Coach Jarmo knows he's got to get that defense sewed up, but Carlson's they're gonna score points just about on everybody. They're loaded there on offense, but 49. Not going to get it done, and they got a big game next week too. So
they sure do.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the game that you and Jeff called down here in Monroe. The SMCC Falcons beat Chandler Park 37-30, and what was a shootout as well. And this is a game Gary was at. We're going to go a little more in depth, but not too much. But tell us your thoughts. You were there.
Okay, yeah. So you talk
Reader's
about,
Digest version.
when you
please.
talk about Chandler Park, you're talking about speed. Amari O'Brien.
He was as fast.
You're a track coach.
He's fast.
10.85 on real time. I don't know. You call it fast.
I had a sprinter place this year at States, and my kid got his doors blown off when we ran at Country Day against O'Brien.
Yeah.
O'Brien is fast.
Yeah. So that was the story. SMCC just couldn't. They weren't used to that speed, and it took them an entire half or more to get antiquated really with that speed and to learn how to deal with it. And Chandler Park jumped out to a 22-12 halftime lead, and I text you at halftime like, SMCC's in trouble.
In trouble, yeah.
If they cannot find a way to slow these guys down. They were scoring, in 2 minutes, sometimes not even 2-minute drives.
Yeah.
So SMCC did find a way. Like I said, the score was 22-12 at halftime. The defense did not give up a score in the second half. The Falcon defense, they scored on a kick return. And so the defense figured it out. They bracketed the outside receivers, and that took.
I wasn't there, but it seems to me this reminded me a little bit of the Crockett CC game from 2010-11 at Navarre Field, kind of the same thing.
2010,
where Crockett won that game.
And
But
Navarre
it's-
Field, that was 2009. Yeah.
Okay, so it seemed that would have been, my first year doing the blog.
Yeah, it was
so anyways,
big game.
good win for the Falcons.
Big games by John Ritchie and Alex Morgan running the football. Big
Nice.
games by them. Yep.
Very nice. The next game was Monroe Airport. That was down at McCormick Field in Carlton.
You were there.
I was there. 36-18. Couple of thoughts on both ends from me since I was there. Airport competed. They have some good players. They really do. I thought the Bondi kid was outstanding, both offensively and defensively. They do a lot of good things. I thought they were outmanned a little bit, and there's been some discussion on the blog there. Monroe, Litton, Banks,
Litton's a heck of a player. He's
Johnson.
Yeah.
It was just, they're kind of an offensive machine. Little undisciplined. They had a lot of penalties. They got to clean that up. I thought it was tough to watch at times. I know I was a little critical, and I wasn't trying to be critical of the referees. I just thought, I believe it was 14 penalties, 10 which were holding.
Yes.
I've never seen that many calls before. So,
Yeah.
But anyways, it was a good game. Airport competed. They're going to have a good season, I think.
I think so.
And Monroe's going to have a good year as well.
Yep.
Let's jump over to another game that you were at least for a half.
Yeah, Friday.
And that was Riverview. Traveled over to Romulus, over to the middle school there on the turf.
That's
and it
right.
was Riverview 42, Romulus 14. Tell us a little bit about that. I mean, Riverview looked pretty good.
It kind of went like I thought it would go. Romulus never stopped Riverview when the first string was in. They scored on all 6 possessions in the first half, touchdowns on all 6 possessions. And Romulus was trying to run the ball a little bit. Riverview was just stuffing it for no yards, and then Romulus resorted to the deep ball pretty much all game, trying to single up their corners on their speedy wide receivers. And their quarterback for Romulus may have been the biggest player on the team. He was just throwing it deep. That's all they could do against Riverview.
Who stood out for the Pirates? I mean, Dom Wood. Right.
Yeah, Dom Wood, Rice, Nafe, and their fullback. And he's going to have to forgive me. I didn't get the fullback's name. I believe he's number 8. I want to say Joe something, but you have to forgive me. We'll get his name. He ran hard as well on those trap plays, and so all the backs played well, and Wood did. Yeah, it went like I thought it would go. Riverview was by far the better team, and they did not disappoint.
Okay, and then our last game. I think we've covered them all, but the last game was Friday night over on the island. Groseal 27, Gable Richard 24. Both teams pretty good, solid teams. You know, Richard coming off a 9-2 season. Groseal was 2-7, but had that big victory over Flat Rock last year. Yeah. A little more diverse offense from Groseal. They threw the ball, they ran the ball. They looked better. And then Gable Richard had a nice team. That's a good win for Groseal, because I was impressed with the Pioneers, in Groseal beat them. It was a good game.
I watched some of the video on that game. I hope these two teams play every year, because it's a nice matchup. It could have went either way. Groseal had some turnover issues in the first half. Richard, as a good team, took advantage of those, jumping out 10-0. But Groseal fought back into the game and eventually got the victory. But I hope they play every year. That's a good matchup.
I thought it was great coaching from both sides. Yes. Bodner's a heck of a coach. We've talked about him on the blog before. Tom Michelson, the coach at Gable Richard, has done a nice job since he's been there. Yep. So that was a fun game to watch. Anyway, so I think that wraps it up.
Yeah.
We're going to try and do a wrap-up show each week, get out to some games, talk about the games that we saw a little more in depth, talk about the games that happened. But anyways, that's our show.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsors. You'd mentioned Mineral Varsity Athletic, and also Gerwick Nissan.
Yep,
thank you. And Little Vinny's in Newport, Vince's Drive-In in Newport, best hot dogs around, chili dogs around. Make sure you hit up Gerwick Nissan and Vince's in Newport.
We got Level Up Training as well. Yep. Larson's out there as well. Yep. Hi, Don. So anyways, thanks for watching. Everybody have a good night. Thanks.